Everyone knows earthworms are a gardener's best friend. They aerate the soil, leave behind nutrient-rich castings, and kickstart the cycle of decomposition that turns dead dirt into living soil. But for anyone dealing with dry, compacted ground, especially hard clay, you already know getting worms to show up isn't easy. Compost takes time. Manure helps, but even that can sit untouched for weeks in poor soil. Now imagine this, a simple blend of overripe fruit scraps that smells sweet and rotten at the same time. A mixture so potent that it draws worms from deep underground, even in dry, neglected corners of the garden. No piles, no turning, just a short fermentation and a shallow burial. Within days, the soil starts changing, tiny holes appear, moisture increases, and suddenly, your garden bed is alive again. This is the power of fermented fruit waste. Rotten bananas and mushy melon, often considered useless trash, can actually outperform manure when handled the right way. Today on Hydrohaven, we're diving into the science, the method, and the results behind this lazy but brilliant trick to attract worms faster than anything else. Whether you're working with rock-hard clay or just want to build humus-rich soil with, a little less effort, this guide is going to change how you see your kitchen waste. Worms don't eat fresh fruit. They rely on the microbial life that consumes the fruit first. In other words, worms eat the bacteria and fungi that grow on decomposing organic matter. This is why fresh banana peels tossed into the soil can take days or even weeks before attracting attention. But when that same fruit has already begun breaking down through fermentation, the process is already, halfway there. Fermentation is a biological shortcut. It releases sugars, alcohols, acids, and enzymes that flood the soil with microbial activity. These byproducts signal to worms that food is ready. What's even more remarkable is how these gases and organic compounds move through even dense or compacted soil, alerting nearby worms that a microbial buffet is waiting. Rotten bananas in particular are rich in potassium, simple sugars, and soft cellulose, perfect worm food. Combine them with overripe melon rinds or mushy papaya, and you've got a mix that breaks down quickly, stays moist, and encourages rapid microbial growth. This isn't just a smell-based attraction, it's a full biological invitation. Start with very ripe fruit. Bananas with black skin, soft melons that have gone mushy, or leftover watermelon rinds that just can't be eaten are perfect choices. But you'll want to avoid citrus or heavily acidic fruit. These actually slow microbial growth and may even repel worms. Blend these scraps into a slurry, adding just enough water to get a thick, pourable consistency. Optionally, a teaspoon of molasses or old fruit juice can accelerate fermentation. Once blended, go ahead and pour the mix into a container with a loose-fitting lid, or you can cover it with breathable fabric like cheesecloth. Let it sit at room temperature for about 2 to 3 days. You're not trying to make it moldy here, just lightly fermented. You'll know it's ready when the smell becomes, strong, sour, sweet, and just a bit alcoholic. At this point, the breakdown has already begun, and microbial populations are really thriving inside the mix. Alright, let's start by choosing the perfect spot. You want to pick a section of your garden that's compacted, depleted, or has historically low worm activity. Trust me, dry clay beds or overworked soil are just ideal candidates for this. Okay, now that we've picked the location, it's time to dig. You'll need to dig a shallow trench about 4 to 6 inches deep. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to get the job done. If the soil is extremely dry, you'll want to water the area lightly before burying the mix. This little bit of moisture is crucial. It helps fermentation continue underground and keeps those hard-working microbes alive. Now go ahead and pour the fermented fruit slurry into the trench and make sure to cover it right away with the soil you removed earlier. Mulching the top with grass clippings or maybe some leaf litter really helps retain moisture, and it also prevents flies or rodents from, poking around. After that, just leave it alone and let nature do its thing. There's no need to stir or check daily. Just let the natural processes unfold underground. Within 3 to 5 days, you may notice the soil starting to sink slightly over the trench. This is actually a good sign that decomposition is active. In about a week, worm tunnels, castings, and even some surface signs of moisture may begin to appear. Manure is effective, but it's slow, especially in compacted or dry soils. It needs moisture, oxygen, and time to break down before worms become interested. Plus, depending on the source, manure can be too hot or high in salts, which may temporarily repel soil life. In contrast, fermented fruit offers a near-instant payoff. The sugars feed microbes first, which explode in population. These microbes soften the surrounding soil and consume oxygen in the breakdown process, creating exactly the kind of low-oxygen pockets worms thrive in. As a bonus, the acidity of the ferment helps suppress harmful pathogens and weeds, all while enriching the root zone with natural potassium and micronutrients. This method doesn't just feed worms, it invites them to stay. Worms lay cocoons in nutrient-rich, microbe-heavy environments. Every time you bury fermented fruit, you're not just luring worms, you're building humus from the bottom up. As worms digest the material, they leave behind castings rich in humic acids and plant-available nutrients. These castings improve water retention, structure, and biological life. Over time, formerly lifeless beds develop a sponge-like texture, dark color, and a sweet, earthy smell, the true mark of healthy soil. The beauty of this method is that it's scalable and sustainable. You don't need huge piles or months of waiting. Even a small trench can turn into a hotspot of fertility. And if you repeat the process across different garden sections throughout the season, you'll end up with a raised bed or ground plot that's teeming with worms and completely revitalized, without the need for chemical fertilizers or commercial amendments. So before you throw out those blackened bananas or soft melons, think twice. With just a few days of fermentation, those scraps can become one of the most powerful tools in your garden, bringing in worms faster than compost, faster than manure, and with less effort than any traditional method. Try this fermented fruit technique in your own garden and let the soil speak for itself. If you found this guide useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone struggling with dead soil, and don't forget to subscribe to Hydrohaven. We're all about smart, low-effort methods that let nature do the work. Stick with us, and we'll keep showing you how to turn waste into living soil, one hack at a time.